I mean, this morning I read the Starbucks. I was like, well, we have to actually approve this. So I've got a lander that got she approval to be able to take her daughter to school in her preschool. In Hobart. But I don't have this. Well, yeah,
I see captains on the Safeway all the time at my house, and you know, there's one other.
Yeah.
Why is everyone wearing?
Ours is pretty strict about it. I mean, for the public, I have to go pay back $9.50 for the tips I gave the Uber driver at the Tennessee conference to and from the airport. They're like, well, yeah, because it's included in your per diem, whatever you tip, whether it's restaurants, Uber drivers, and I'm like, but that was the first time I've ever used an Uber. Is there even an option to do your tip on a different card? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, you've got to pay it back now. So
Mine is all jacked up because, well, for us, we don't get we don't get anything. We have to pay everything out of pocket and then we get reimbursed, except for the flights. Our travel unit does that. But like for hotel and Ubers and food, everything we have to pay. So I'm waiting on like 1900 bucks back.
yeah.
And there was a problem with it because we have a rate, you know, you have to stay this
Within, yeah.
for July through September in Nashville. It was like 278. Like there was, if you wanted me to stay like 40 miles away and rent a car to go in, yes, I could have found one.
But you weren't gonna get that.
Mine was like 250 something. So.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, members of the MAG Public Safety Answering Point Managers Group. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment on today's meeting, please fill out a request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway and give it to MAG staff. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. Before we begin with roll call, I would like to welcome Allie Edwards from the Phoenix Police Department to the committee. Allie is the new vice chair of the PSAT Managers Group. Welcome, and we look forward to your leadership on this committee. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members.
I'm sorry.
We've changed how we do roll call. Let me get my words out. When I call your name, please indicate that you're present for the record. For all of those online, if you could open up your cameras so that we can see your happy faces. We now do roll call and everything, voting with cameras. So you're not, unless you're unable to, we will call you individually, but you'll be part of the group vote. There we go. Loretta, Tanya, Shauna, and I know Trish, you're at a place where you don't have a camera or a phone, so we know we'll count you as here, Loretta. I mean, sorry, Trish.
I'm trying to log into my computer right now. I'm calling from my phone so I can get on a camera.
Okay, well, Loretta, you can say your voice and then, but for voting on the minutes, we'll need to see your pretty little face. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call, starting with Apache Junction. Jessica? I don't see Jessica online. AMR, Kristen? Okay. Arizona DPS?
Here.
Welcome, Jill. Trish is Michaelis, so I'll say here for Trish. Avondale PD?
Present.
All right. Buckeye PD?
Present.
Chandler PD?
Present.
Fort McDowell? Let's see here. Okay, Gilbert. No, Gilbert. Glendale. Loretta. Glendale. Can you wave at us, Loretta?
I'm present. I'm sorry.
Goodyear.
Present.
Okay. Luke Air Force Base. David, MCSO.
Good morning, Jim Stillwell's present.
Mesa Fire.
Hi, good morning. Derek Williams here for Nicole York, who couldn't make the meeting. Present.
Welcome, Chief. Mesa PD. No show. Paradise Valley.
Heather Beckwith, present.
Hi, Heather. Peoria is declined. Phoenix PD.
Present.
Salt River PD.
Present.
Scottsdale PD.
Present.
Surprise PD.
Present.
Tempe PD.
Present.
Holliston.
Amanda Howard, present.
And then Wickenburg. Is there anyone that I've missed?
Jessica Kelly, Apache Junction. I was a little late.
Hi, Jessica. We got Jessica. All right. Chair, we do have a quorum confirmed.
Okay, our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience unless the chair requests an exception to this limit. I have received 0 requests to speak cards for the call to the audience. So MAG also provides the opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Ms. Graver, have we received any online written comments for the call to the audience?
No online comments have been received.
Okay, our next agenda item is the approval of the June 8th, 2023 MAG PSAT Managers Group meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, prior to the approval of the minutes, do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
We have.
Stephanie,
Yes.
sorry, it's Karen. I do have actually one question regarding the notes on the minutes, and it's from the technical team section, where there's a note in there under number 8 in the June minutes. It says that different jurisdictions are changing how they deal with their non-911 administrative type in the 10-digit emergency lines. Can we put that on for further explanation when the tech team comes up today?
Hi, Karen, this is Liz. We don't have an agenda item for the tech team.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what that was, and I don't have any more notes on it myself.
Okay. If you want to give me a call after the meeting, I can visit with you about it.
Okay. No further questions from me.
Okay. All right. I haven't received any requests to speak cards from this item. Ms. Graber, have we received any online written comments for this item?
None.
Chair and Ms. Graber, we have Jim Stillwell with his hand up.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, Jim. Jim, go ahead.
That's okay. I have a person here from office trying to watch the video via the YouTube link, and they're advising there's no audio on the YouTube feed.
All right.
Okay,
Jim.
thanks, Jim. We'll double check it.
Thank you.
We'll have our tech team look at that.
Now where were we? There've been no cards.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the June 8th, 2023 MAG PSAT Manager Group meeting minutes?
Dave. Salt River, make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Dave Martin. Is there a second?
Damla Fennessy, surprise, all second.
Okay. Received a second from Damala. We will now have those participating in the meeting online now take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. This is to speed up the voting process. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, Ms. Graber will conduct a roll call vote. Ms. Graber will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that Ms. Graber can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in,
Aye.
those say nay.
And we'll need Tanya a vote. Tanya from Tempe. And
I'm sorry. Sorry, having technical difficulty.
Jessica Kelly will also need a voice vote from you.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is the administrator report. Liz Graber, Maricopa Region 911 Administrator will provide this report.
And before we step into the next item, Jim, this is just an update. We checked and the audio is good for the YouTube link. So maybe you could check with them again and make sure that it's working for them.
Yes, I did say it started shortly after I mentioned it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so on the administrator report, giving items that we review that we do as a region, the first one will be for text to 911. Currently, we're at 8,696 for those in our region. And that is up from last year. Last year at this time, we were at 7,047. So we're up significantly. And for the month of July, it was 1,318. So we are still continuing to trend our text 911 increase every year since we began in 2018. And then on to SINs, we have also trending higher in this. And I don't have complete August numbers yet because we still have a few week or so left in the month. But as of today, we have 96 launches, and that is ahead last year. That's 9% higher than we had at the same time last year. So we are trending higher on our reverse 911 SINs. So the question of, while we have talking about SINs, the platform that we're using called Vesta Alert will sunset. It's going to be end of life. They're not doing any updates to it, but they will continue to support it. At some point, the decision will have to be made by the PSAPs on moving forward on what that looks like. The state is in negotiations with Motorola because their new product is Rave, and that they are looking at offering that on a state contract, and how we do that, whether it's by individual PSAPs or as a region, will be determined later on. Or there also the possibility that we'll look into emergency management for the county and they might have Vessel or Array, but we'll find out if they have one that's available that we could also use, so we can see what our options are at that point when it comes to that. But until then, we will use the Vesta Alert until we move to whatever new path we're going to go to. Okay. And that's all I have for my administrative report.
Okay, does any member of the committee have questions or comments? All right, our next item is an update on the activities of the MAG 911 Study Committee. Audrey Skidmore, MAG Information Technology Director, will provide this update.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. We had previously talked about how the The committee was looking at options 4, 5, and 7 from the report. Those were keeping a separate MR 911 network with consolidation, going to the state, but keeping a data center in Mesa, and then fully going to the state. We continue to explore those options. And at this point, modified option 4 and 7 appear to be the most feasible. The primary focus of a modified option 4 would be maintaining a separate network with full interoperability of the state, while also ensuring enhanced service levels and accountability to the region. This would be done as a managed service and network option through an independent contract and possibly procurement vehicle. Option 7, of course, remains on the table, which is a full switch to the state. So we met with ADOA about these two options, and they indicated that both are potentially feasible with trade-offs. They are analyzing those options and are going to come back to discuss those trade-offs in areas like funding. We're having very productive discussions with them. They're going to continue in the next month. We've also discussed with them the importance of maintaining continuity with the existing system as we move forward so that we don't have any lapses in service. And also allowing the features that have been paused to proceed. So we've had some good discussions in that regard as well. They're going to be explicitly addressing that when we next meet with them. The project that was paused 30 days before rollout, they're going to address that specifically. The committee has also indicated that they want to continue looking at the funding rate from the tax, the funding formula or lack of one for how agencies get funded through the system, consolidation and governance, depending on how we move forward. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does any member of the committee have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, if I might, it's Nathan Pryor, Policy Government Relations Director, MAG. So just in terms of process, where we've been, where we think we're going, the final draft of the federal engineering report was put to the study committee in June timeframe. Over July, I gave an opportunity for that study committee to review. Did come back here last week and had a study committee meeting where they did accept that report. And that's been distributed to you all. There's a cover memo attached as well. That went to management committee, study committee, oversight team, and this body. So hopefully that helps to kind of show the work of the study committee. As Audrey Skidmore pointed out, conversations with ADOA are ongoing, and a lot of kind of additional conversations to help inform the study committee and process also continue. We're imagining here probably the next month or so, I believe, study committees scheduled for mid to late September, that they would reconvene and talk about in more detail the options that Ms. Skidmore laid out, and just again helping to inform that body in greater detail with timelines and really what are we looking at, trying to get a better degree of certainty on these options. So we'll continue to inform this body. We'll talk a little bit here in the next item about budget and how it affects our budget process. But just again, trying to provide a little bit more context into process. Hopefully we'll have a degree of certainty again here in the next month or two in terms of the path of where the region might be headed. So Madam Chair, thanks for letting me add that in.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is an update on the fiscal year 2025 budget. Liz Graber, MR 911 Administrator, will provide this update.
So normally we would be voting on the budget right now, but because there are still many decisions to be made on the path forward, we thought that we would hold off until we got a better grasp. I do have a budget prepared for fiscal year 2025. It includes those that completed the fiscal year, the 5-year projection. Let me get those up there. So we have just as information only at this point. Make sure I'm giving you the right one. Here it is. Okay. So we have additional PSAPs, additional positions. And let me see, I want to make sure I get the right ones. All right, here we are. So we have AJ for 1 workstation and a login recorder reimbursement, ASU for 1 workstation. Remember, this is for fiscal year 2025. I'll talk about 2024 as well. Avondale, 2 workstations, Avondale login recorder, Glendale, 4 workstations, Goodyear, 5 workstations and a login recorder, MCSO, 9 workstations, Phoenix Fire, 2, Mesa Fire, 2 workstations, and Phoenix PD, 10 workstations. So those are all the things that were asked for by the PSAPs that we put into the budget. And then we have upgrades. Let me make sure. Upgrades, we have Apache Junction that will be due in fiscal year 2025, Buckeye, Chandler, Salt River, Tolleson. Those are the fiscal year 2025 upgrades. So depending on whether or not what the decision is whether we'll have include those or not. The issue that you run into, and Scottsdale is a good example. Scottsdale was installed with equipment that was a year old that we had just done. And then because AT&T, for their own risk management, have to have the equipment that they install, that they manage. You just can't turn the keys over to a new vendor and say, take the risk on this stuff that you didn't install. So they took out all that equipment and put in their own equipment. So it did took the state and did about a $750,000 hit that to do that flip. So we're trying to be real mindful of trying to balance of getting your upgrades and to see if it's something we're going to do through our team or another team, a third-party team, or if it's going to be through AT&T. And as they get narrowed down to the solution in the next month or so, we'll hopefully, when we get that answer, we will put forth a budget that will reflect it. So it might reflect AT&T charges. It might reflect going direct charges. And then we'll vote on it. So we're not going back and voting on multiple budgets. So for information's sake, the total with if we approved all the additional positions and the login recorder and the upgrades, it came to about $10.8 million. That's with all the kit caboodle. If the AT&T, and I don't have their numbers, the state would handle that portion of it. But if they had those extracted, those AT&T costs to do the upgrades, our budget would then go down to $4.5 million. That's networking, maintenance, personnel, and all the things we do to support the PSAPs. So big significant with your equipment, whether or not that $5 million of equipment is in the budget or out of the budget. Are there any questions on fiscal year 2025?
Yeah, this is Karen Liz. I just wanted to point out, because yes, you make a good point about the equipment being new, but I do want to make sure that I point out that that equipment was returned to MR 911.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So we have it as spares, and Scottsdale was gracious to let us come in and take that equipment, and we have it in spare. So that saves us money as something fails on a Vestas system and we need to replace a PC or anything. We absolutely will do that. So it's been absorbed. And the same for Wickenburg. Wickenburg was on Viper. Is that right, Mike? give me a heads up. So we do have some spares with Wickenburg on their Viper system, which we still have Viper site. So that helped as well. Any other questions on fiscal year 2020?
Liz, this is Loretta. Can you send us out that information as to the requests that were sent out?
Yeah, I can put out the 6-year forecast so that you can see, when the upgrades are and everything. I can absolutely do that. Robin, will you make note that I remember? Okay, thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Anything else?
Madam Chair, if I might, thanks Liz for that report, and obviously given Ms. Skidmore's report on the study committee work, as Liz pointed out, this is the time of year when we collect our budget, our projects, and prepare to submit those to ADOA. In conversation with ADOA, they recognize that we're in this kind of period of ongoing work and conversation in terms of paths forward. So as you probably have seen, this item is not on for action today. We're going to continue conversations with ADOA as we map paths forward in terms of what we do with budget during this potential time of transition. So ask you, number one, thank you to all who did submit your budget requests and getting those compiled in a timely manner. So thank you for that. We'll continue to provide updates on the work of the study committee and as it relates to budget, where this committee does have a role in review and consideration of approval to move that up. So we'll likely be back here in the next probably 2 months or so with hopefully some better information in terms of clearer information and also as it relates to budget. So thanks to everyone for again submitting those and hanging tight during this period of conversation. So we'll be back at a future meeting with further updates also as it relates and impacts budget. So thank you.
Our next item is,
I'm sorry, I still have fiscal year 2020.
I apologize.
So we are in the middle of fiscal year 2024. And as you know, we've been split into 2 grant cycles of 6 months. The state has asked us to hold off on putting any equipment in the first half, which we abided with. But we're looking at the second half. That grant doesn't open until November timeframe, I think is what they gave us. And because once again, we're up in the air on what the path moving forward. I can't give a clear answer on upgrades for fiscal year 2024 or additional positions. So just a reminder of what is in equipment wise and that we're holding off on the second one. It is Chandler 1 position, Tolleson 2, Mesa Fire 3 positions, Goodyear 5, Phoenix PD 10, and Apache Junction a logging recorder reimbursement. And then our upgrades will be ASU, Avondale, and AMR is on that list, as well as finishing up Luke. So those are the projects of fiscal year 2024 that we don't have clear direction on. We'll know by time, hopefully we'll know by time we submit that second half grant, and we'll be in communications with all the PSAPs that have things in that to keep you in the loop of as soon as we get an answer, so you know what to expect. Any questions on 2024?
Okay, our next item is an update on the new alternative routing configuration. Liz Graber, MR 911 Administrator, will provide this update.
So I'm glad Karen's on the line because she can help give us some insight. One of the things that we discovered is that an option that Comtech offers is that we know the old school make busy. We're leaving the building. We flip the old switch or log off as it is now, and we're evacuating our building. All calls get pointed to your alt route. The other one is alternate routing when your lines are inundated. And Chandler seems to be a popular one for this, as they have a shooting or an active shooter or whatever that is, and calls get flooded in. And then when they are inundated and there are no lines left, it starts alt routing. So something that we discovered on when Scottsdale cut over is they have implemented a alternate route when the call hasn't been answered in a timely manner. And it was, so the example would be if you're short-staffed and they can't, if they're in the RAN, if you're ACD or if you're non-ACD, it rings. And Stephanie, 28 seconds or 20?
It's 28.
28 seconds. If it doesn't get answered in 28 seconds, if it's not served to an operator in 28 seconds, this is the state standard, then it gets alternate route. And it actually what an alternate route to, it can be multiple PSAPs, and that's how Scottsdale had it set up. And so this is new type of alternate route, and I can see where it would be helpful, but that adds a layer of complexity so that when it's not that they're inundated, it's not that they're evacuating the building, it's that they're short-staffed and the calls aren't being answered is the most likely scenario for the use of that. So that brings up something that you as PSAPs will have to ponder and talk to your executives and your chiefs about, because it seemed like there'll need to be an IGA between you and your alt route selections, because they're taking on that extra workload that hasn't been there before. Does that make sense to everyone? So Tucson, we reached out to Tucson and they have this, but they set it to 90 seconds because there's just no way that Pima County PSAPs outside of Tucson can handle their call volume. So they got the state to change their level to 90 seconds. And Karen, did you change yours to 90 seconds?
That's correct.
Yeah. So Karen changed hers to 90 seconds. So something to think about as we move forward. The 1980s gentleman's agreement on make busy and alt routing is probably a thing of the past, and you'll need to have IGAs in place to make sure that your agencies are covered and that the agencies that you're dealing with are covered as well. So any questions or comments on that at all?
This is Damala. Karen, if you have yours set and you're doing this, do you have an IGA that you could share with the rest of us?
We do not have an IGA. We set it up through the policy routing function, and I guess it is still somewhat of a gentleman's agreement where we chose agencies that would be willing to back us up. Since we've switched it to 90 seconds, it's been quite a bit of relief. I know that when we first went on and we went with the default 28 seconds, and Chandler did receive a lot of our calls, which was difficult. When we realized that was happening, we had conversation with Comtech and made that change to 90 seconds so that that wouldn't happen as often. And to my knowledge, it's only happened once, and that was during a big wreck where it was just inundated with calls.
Liz, do you know if maybe Tucson has one?
I don't, but I can talk to Jeff and find
Okay.
out if
If
they
you
have
could,
some
and then
sort of an
let us know.
IGA. Yeah, that we can share.
Perfect.
Any other questions on it? All right.
Okay, are there any requests by a PSAT managers group member for an item on a future agenda? Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? Okay, the next meeting of the MAG PSAT managers group will be on Thursday, October 12th at 10 a.m. with no further business. Today's meeting.
Can I interject? I want to prepare everybody that October 12th is kind of a loose date. That's what we have for now, but with things in motion, we might have to push it because we don't want to have, the reason we push this one is we want to have that 911 study committee meeting to happen before we meet together. So that's why if we push it, depending on what that October looks like, we might push it later so that we have an opportunity to discuss what happens in those meetings. Does that make sense? Okay. That's it.
Okay,